Get from pattern to poinsettia in 20 minutes. Stick to the end when the second stage is revealed. And I've placed the different leaves on top of this fabric just to see what it looks like, just to kind of get a sense with the paper on top initially. So I'm going to place them in the right spot. And what I found is, I did mention, I didn't know what this was for. It isn't absolutely necessary, but I find it's helpful on using the very thin tracing paper so you can see through it, to help with placing the leaves in the correct spot. And they actually are almost perfect. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to just you could do this, you don't have to use the tracing paper. This is only something that was never even recommended by Wattle and Loop. But I like it. I like it because it kind of helps in arranging the petals. I think that's pretty good, except I'll probably take this down a little bit. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to do one at a time. So this is leaf 1. Take the paper off, pin it down. Leaf 2, take the paper off, pin it down. Leaf 3. Now that little dot is the center of the flower. Take that 3 off and pin it down. 4, pin it down. Don't worry if it's not perfect, because I'll look at it again with the tracing paper. So now I have those leaves. I'll just place them over to the side. And here we are. So I have on the tracing paper a little X for the top. And this is where the ribbon will eventually go. Now, I know for sure that, so I take the tracing paper on top, place, and then just double check if these are in the right spot. If you're finding this video helpful, please do subscribe and thumbs up. Base of the flower is in the right spot because I traced over it. I had the pattern, which I used. I followed this. I just want to kind of show you again in case you forgot. So what I'm doing is working on these 4 petals, or leaves as they call them. Just make sure it's as close as possible to what is on this drawing. Most of the time you can do it via eye. Already you can see how pretty it is. You know, how gorgeous this is going to be. These leaves can overlap a little bit. That's how they show them. And there's going to be other leaves on top of it. So that, don't worry about little gaps, if there are gaps in between. I think that looks pretty good, yeah? In the instruction book, this is step A, which we're still on. And then what we're going to do is, it shows here, there's little yellow dotted lines, and that's where you place the glue underneath. And so this is not, at first I thought that this was, these little dotted lines were for thread, for needle work, but it's actually for the glue, to place the glue. And the reason why we do that is, and we use this PV, I have it, it's called Blue Based It. And why I like this, it's a temporary basting glue. I used to use this for my applique, and it looks like a hypodermic needle. I remember when I used to fly with this. I don't think you can fly with it now. Maybe you can. I was only 2 fluid ounces. Yeah, why not? And thinking that, what do they, they might think this is something, a hypodermic needle. But it's, so this is, and what's nice about this is that the glue comes out really thin. You don't get it all over the place. It doesn't make a mess. So what it says is, be sure to place them in the correct way, in the correct position according to pattern before gluing. And it's the dotted yellow lines on the photo A that show approximate glue areas. Do not glue all over the underside of the shape, as you need to be able to tuck the fabric underneath each leaf in the next few steps. So the next step you'll see, we're going to put fabric on top, and you'll see. So I'm going to first do this. So you only want to follow the yellow lines. In other words, you need to have enough space underneath to be able to tuck the red burgundy fabric. So what I'm doing here then is I'm going to start with one. Okay, just take this off. Just keep my fingers on it. It stays in position. And I'm going to put some glue. See this glue? So you can see how it comes out as I squeeze it? So what I'm going to do is just the center right here, just here, and then place it down. And then I'm going to turn it around. So here we are. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue here, and then now as I gain a little bit more confidence. And if it's not enough, then you take it and you put a little bit more glue on it. Let it dry. That's the beginning of it. So that's step A. And then we're going to step B. The red paper pattern can now be cut up. So I'm going to take this over to the side, let it dry a little bit. I'll put that there. Place it there. Now you take this pattern. I'm going to move this away. And if you remember from the beginning, the step one is that you only allowed they tell you to just cut on the solid line first. So we've done that. Now we're being given permission to now cut up further, cut out each of the striped red leaf shapes to trace and cut out 5 dark red burgundy fabric lower leaf shapes. Now, and that the photos here, what it's going to look like right there. So instead of what I typically use is I use a light box. This is even better. And we're going to cut those out. So make sure we're cutting on this line where the scissors are. And you'll see, so you're not cutting along here, the dotted line. You're cutting along the light solid line. So I'm going to take my nifty scissors. These are not necessarily the only scissors you use. And then I'll cut out another right on that solid light line. And if perchance you make a mistake, don't worry, because you can always use your tracing paper. Where there's a will, there's a way. But with this video, you can take it step by step. You can stop, put it on pause, come back, and then do more, and as well as read the instructions. So double check yourself and the video. So when you have you and me to help guide you through this project. If you're finding this video helpful, please do subscribe and thumbs up. Don't ever throw anything away until you're completely done. So now we have the pieces for step B. This is step B. The red paper pattern can now be cut up further, which we did. By only cutting out the parts of each leaf that will be visible, including a little extra or 1/4 as always added to the pattern to tuck underneath. Hence those lines help us to know that this is the extra fabric that we need to tuck underneath these leaves. Okay, now we have our burgundy and red. It's not the bright red, it's the darker red. Not this. We put that to the side. That's for embellishing later. This is a burgundy. Obviously, this is a burgundy. I'll leave that for right now. Now, how I know which burgundy works they're recommending is you can choose, because this obviously is not. So that goes away. There's 3. And I like to get a sense of what I see as the main velvet here. Then you have the burgundy. So what I'm doing here is making sure that the burgundy, and there's 3 different kinds of burgundy. Some of this burgundy is going to be cut into little slices. So we have this, and we have a shiny one, and then we have another one. See, they actually use this color, so that might work. So I like to use this as my guide. So this is the top. So eventually this is going to be like this. So you can see that this is the burgundy. So we're going to pick the burgundy first, and they use this striped for this color. So we're going to use stripe for the bottom. So we know this is the top because it says. So the top will be, I'm going to pick this here. So what I've done here is I've cut these out, but I put them back together to see where they were placed. And I now know where I'm going to place the red, the top, which I think I'm going to pick this one. And then I'm going to maybe go with another color, maybe this. We know that this one is on this stripe. I think that's pretty cool. And then we have this one on here, let's say. Maybe this, I'll use this, and this maybe on here. Because what you're going to do now is you want to make sure, and then you pin it down, and you want to make sure that there's plenty of fabric left over, because we will be needing that fabric. So take the fabric, and it says one of the things it emphasized is for step B is to you use the fabric. You don't just like we did with the felt pieces, so that we have it for embellishing. I might use that as more of an embellishment. I'm going to do this one. And when I say embellish, it's where you place smaller pieces of fabric on. So I'm going to put my pin in here, make sure it's on the correct side. There might be a slight variation of the colors. Maybe it's a little lighter on one side. So make sure you just double check before you cut. I've made mistakes like that. What's nice about this is you don't need to use marker. And then this one, I really like this. Reminds me of Christmas, the candy cane stripes. And then all we need to do here is, so now we continue to cut out all of your 5 dark red burgundy shapes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to lightly glue all 5 leaves to a large felt background shape. Be sure to tuck under. So here it says on photo C shows how to be as efficient with cutting the fabric as possible and how to tuck each fabric underneath. Yeah. Okay, so you don't want waste. So this is always the scary part because you don't want to make a mistake. So I'm going to cut this fabric out. Worst case scenario, you get some scraps somewhere else. It's the nerve-wracking part of making a mistake. But I think we're okay here. And being that we can always order pieces of fabric if we have to, but I think we're okay. So I'm going to save all my pieces of fabric for when we layer the leaves. So here we are. Yeah, not too bad. And then I'm going to keep that and just place the fabric on the side, and then you reuse the envelope that Wattle and Loop provides with the fabric to just throw the excess into it. And even if I don't end up using it, I have it for other projects. There's not a lot of excess material. That's why you have to make sure you don't waste the fabric. There's usually enough. And I'll come back and show you what it looks like when I'm finished cutting out. So here we are. I put it back into this little shape. As I told you not to throw that center one away. And then now I have the fabric underneath it, right? I think that looks good. So what I'm doing now, the next step is actually D. Using the same paper patterns as for the red felt leaves, cut out the leaf shapes from the brighter red. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're going to place this fabric. So this is the top. It really does help to have a pin there. And I'm going to take this off, this fabric, and I'm putting it underneath. And what you want to do is tuck this underneath. I'm not ready to place it down yet because what we're doing here is, as you can see, these lines here were to go tuck under the red leaves, the red felt. And that you're not placing it flush with the red fabric. There's a little bit of pull of not laying it directly. So just taking a look at this and seeing. And before I glue it down, it looks like I have to glue my little red ones down, I'm going to go to this one here, which is here. I'm going to take the pin off. And what does that look like? The same thing. It goes underneath the red felt petals and leaves. It allows, you want the red felt to show underneath. So you see a little bit of the red felt, which is really quite pretty. And what's great about the basting is that it doesn't, you can take it apart, you can take it off. So I'm finished with that one. Now I'm doing the one of my favorites. This is mine, one of my favorite colors. Let me see if it came out yet. So what I do is I place that. I cut it out exact, so it has to work. But I'm going to keep playing with it until I get there. And then I'll show it to you finished. So it's coming together. Obviously, I need to adjust the top ones. But once you've found, and I'll come back and show you that finished. But keep everything. Just push it to the side. And what we have here so far, and it's not quite finished, this is the top. And we're going to make sure there's enough red, and I'll take some time to play with this. And this is the important thing, is that the sewing together happens at the very end, and that's sewing to add the pretty colors and threads. So you can constantly be going, okay. And then you use the temporary basting, and I'll be back. We're not finished with step D. We still have more of step D. So now we're on to adding the red fabric. This is the burgundy fabric. Now we're putting the red fabric on top of these leaves, coming back to these little red ones, the original ones that we cut out here. Now, number one and if you look on D, there's D is here, and I'm going to choose the same colors. Number one is here, so this is going to be this leaf. Number 3, they have another one with this number 3, which is here. That's going to be the same fabric. I love it. This is such fun fabric. All of them are, but I like this one in particular. So that's going to come on. And then they use 2 of this, which is this one, which is 5 and 2. And then this is this fabric. Tell me this doesn't look good already. I haven't actually glued these down yet because I wanted to make sure it's in the right spot. So what we're doing here is you're going to make sure that you have enough fabric, and there'll be leftovers because we're going to use that. So try and use as much of the fabric as you can without too much wastage, and then you pin those down. So we're getting there, right? But you know, I really am enjoying this process because it's different for me. I don't think I've used paper patterns in maybe since I was a kid, or maybe since my kids were kids. That was a while ago. That was quite a long time ago. So make sure that it's on the fabric. And this fabric I like because it looks very Christmassy. It is Christmassy. It has little Christmas balls on it. So that's not quite right. So I'm going to keep playing, and I'll get there. And then we're going to put this one on and this one on, and I'll come back. So that's good. So I'm happy with that. These I haven't done yet. So I'm going to just show you what we're doing here. So we're now cutting, and just make sure I'm doing it correctly. Yes. We're cutting out this fabric, saving any extra, even the tiniest bit. I mean, this is quite tiny. Do we save this? I'm going to anyway. I can always throw it out after I'm finished with this. It's kind of nice to use paper as, instead of having to trace onto the fabric itself with pens, you know, the water-soluble pens, because it's different. I don't mind doing it doing the other way either. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting around, and here we have it, and then I'll cut the others. And then what this will do is eventually we'll put this on. So they're all cut out. I just wanted to show my little pile of red fabric. I'm going to put that to the side, place it in with my rest of my fabric. So this is the top, and I'm going to use this picture as a guide. So number 1 leaf is here. So I'm taking this off. This helps again because it has the dot at the bottom. So you can see how pretty that is. Oh my Lord. Okay, so I'm getting to, and then you place it on top. I'm not gluing anything down yet, just because I want to make sure what it looks like. So it kind of goes off to the side a little bit, and then, so that's 1. And then we have 2. So leaf 2 is here. Bottom, just put my little pin away. Here's that red. So here, leaf 3, I take it off, and then I know that's the bottom of the leaf, and I put it here. So there'll be a little overlapping, which is what we want. That's leaf 3, we've done those. Now we're on to 4, bottom. That really helps having that little dot there. And then I place it on here. And then I remember when we first started and I wasn't sure, what are we going to do with these leaves? Okay, before I mess up, bottom. There's going to be so much happening here. So this is it here. So that's the top, my little pin, and there it looks so far. So what I do is I'm going to keep adjusting these fabrics until they look exactly what I want, and then I'll glue it down with this nifty glue. So that's step D. So let me make sure I've done it. Note that I place each one a little off center to add the layered look. So off center, with the felt peeking out the sides. Be sure to be as efficient arranging and cutting out these pattern fabric leaves as possible, and make sure the pattern pieces fit before you cut. This is now the base layer of the red fabric completed. So there's a lot still going on here. The next one we'll go to is step E, and that's carefully place your large cutout green felt. So we're going to come back.